this management team is probably, I would say, top five public markets.
Yeah, at least the gap between them and their competitors seems like they run circles around all of the media competitors. They throw stuff out there. I think what the most genius play was to tell everyone that you didn't do advertising and you didn't do or don't do advertising and don't do you have to have your own content or something like that. I forget what all the other things they were like putting out into the universe in the 2015 to 2020. And then they forced everyone to make an uneconomic decision with that. And now they're, saying, oh, we reversed our decision. But I feel like it was actually a little bit of trying to throw things out there that the competition will make some mistakes, because it seems like a lot of people lead off of Netflix. A lot of people are adding these advertising tiers now, and they're doing quite well now.
Yeah, the other thing I find interesting is it seems like they would have pissed off a lot of customers over the last year, right? They revoked paid sharing. They launched a new ad-supported tier. And they're like, well, you don't have to have the ad-supported tier, but they raised prices on the premium tier, which I think having the ad-supported tier enabled them to do that. And there was one other thing. I can't remember. But still, they have such a tremendous amount of memberships and 8% of market share in TV, in streaming TV today in the US, behind only YouTube. The other part is you've got a lot of players in the industry who can no longer just run this model, the Netflix model. They can't just have their own content on their own app because it's proving not to be profitable. They're not winning consumers, they're not winning eyeballs, they're not winning subscribers. And so they're going to have to license their content out, because that's the major asset that they have, to the winners like Netflix. And we're seeing that now, where I imagine Netflix is getting pretty dang good rates on shows like Suits, which just came to the platform. The big hit shows, I think Ballers was an HBO show that they're licensing to the platform. I don't know if that'll be that big, but the scale is affording them more and more opportunities. And it's just, I don't know. I think about this quarter and I'm like, Netflix didn't really have any hits, like any massive hits in the US, let's say. And I think 40% roughly of the revenue is US based. Didn't have any huge hits yet. The churn doesn't seem to be there. It feels like one, which is just the default. Like, you have to subscribe, you got to have it. It's on everyone's must-have list.
Well, I don't have it, but
the numbers show
the majority of people do. What?
You don't have? You don't do any like the paid sharings plan? Yeah.
No one's the one I'm using. They haven't stopped yet. So.
Well, I think if it's is it a roommate?
It's I don't know. It's someone that it's not anyone I know. So it's just been logged in on my TV. Yeah.
Interesting. Because I remember hearing something that, like, if you go to the Wi-Fi of the home account, you're not considered like a guest or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you have to do it once a month. So I think that's the one way to avoid it. Just bring your TV over to whoever's host account's house. Just log in.
I think what's interesting is that they haven't, with the password sharing, they haven't done it fully yet. It's like slowly rolling out. I don't know if they're doing it randomly or by accounts that have the most views or hours watched, so they're most likely to re-up or something like that. But I think the most interesting part is that given the ad supported tier, which I think is $7 a month, but either way, pretty cheap, that's giving them much more room to raise prices on the premium tier without thinking that they're going to sacrifice a bunch of revenue. So I'm sure they just run the numbers and say, hey, we put it up to this level, $20 a month for the highest tier or whatever it is. We know, given the data that we have, that some people will leave fully, but a lot of them will go down to that advertising tier and actually be just as profitable. But then for the people that stay, the 90% of people that stay with the full tier, the premium tier, That's going to be revenue accretive. They're a little aggressive with pricing, as
Yeah.
compared to some other streaming services, maybe some of the music streamers as well. And I don't know if that's going to bite them in the butt later, but clearly they do have the room to do that, and they're executing because of that. The advertising tier has been key to unlocking that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like some of the what are the long-term risks with Netflix? And it's hard to really point to any like glaring ones, but it feels like they're being very aggressive with pricing, and they're either pissing people off or they're going to have to peel it back a little bit. But obviously they have better data than we do on that stuff. So I'm sure they know what they're doing.